It was just another quiet evening in the little town of Hartfield. I was curled up on the couch, catching up on emails when a strange message popped up in Derek's inbox. At first, I brushed it off, assuming it was work-related, but curiosity got the better of me. I couldn't resist taking a peek. That's when my world shattered into a million pieces. The encrypted email contained explicit details of an affair Derek was having. But it wasn't just that. There was also evidence of a sinister plot to strip me of my family's assets and legacy. My heart pounded as I read through the sordid messages, each line driving the knife deeper into my trembling soul. I sat there, numb, staring at the laptop screen until Derek walked through the door. He had that easy smile on his face, the one that used to melt my heart. Not anymore. "Hey, babe, what you working on?" he asked casually, dropping his briefcase. I turned the laptop towards him, jaw clenched. "Care to explain this?" The color drained from his face as he scanned the emails. For a moment, he looked like a trapped animal, eyes darting around the room. Then the mask slipped back into place. "It's not what it looks like." "Don't insult me with your lies," I spat out, anger rising like venom through my veins. "I know everything. The affair with that woman, and your plans to leave me destitute while you run off with her." Derek opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "Save your pathetic excuses. Just tell me one thing. How could you do this to me? To us? After everything we've been through together?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Coward. I never meant to hurt you, Marion. You've got to believe me. Things just got out of hand with Lila." "Lila? So that's her name." I laughed bitterly. "Well, you can have her. But you're not taking 1 cent of my inheritance. Not after plotting behind my back like some low-life criminal." That seemed to snap him out of it. Derek's fists clenched and he took a menacing step forward. "Now listen here, you ungrateful." But I wasn't having any of his entitled rage. "No, you listen to me," I said, standing up to face him. "I have proof of your deceit, plenty of it. And you can bet your cheating ass I'm not going to let you get away with this betrayal." Derek's face contorted with impotent anger as the reality sank in. For once he had nothing to say, realizing I had him cornered. As he stormed out of the room, I sank back onto the couch, my body numb but my mind utterly focused. This was just the beginning. Derek had awoken a force he could never intimidate or control. I was taking back what was rightfully mine, and God help anyone who tried to stop me. I didn't sleep a wink that night. How could I, after discovering the depth of Derek's deception? My mind was spinning, trying to process the harsh reality. The man I loved, the man I devoted half my life to, was just an unfaithful snake. But I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. If Derek thought he could just discard me like trash after using me for my family's wealth, he had another thing coming. After texting an old friend from college that night, I found myself waiting at a downtown cafe the next morning. Clara walked in right at 9 a.m. on the dot, ever the punctual one. "Long time no see," she said with a warm smile as she gave me a hug. "Though I wish it were under better circumstances." I managed a tight smile. "Yeah, some reunion, huh?" Clara's face turned serious. "Your message sounded pretty dire. Why don't you fill me in over some coffee?" I took a steadying breath and launched into the whole sordid tale. The encrypted emails, Derek's mistress, the plan to leave me penniless. Clara listened intently, her eyes widening with disbelief. "That low-life scumbag," she muttered when I finished. "Marion, I'm so sorry. No one deserves that level of betrayal." I shook my head. "I don't want pity. I want justice. Revenge." Clara gave me an appraising look before nodding firmly. "Then you've come to the right person. I may have switched career paths from pre-law to private investigation, but I still know how to make guys like Derek pay." A glimmer of hope sparked inside me. "You'll help me take him down?" "I'll do you one better," Clara said with a sly grin. "We're going to bury that cheating dirtbag so deep, he'll be begging to disappear from this earth." For the first time since the betrayal, I felt the steel returning to my spine. "What did you have in mind?" Over the next hour, Clara methodically laid out a plan of attack to dismantle Derek's life, brick by brick. She had connections to obtain all his financial data, phone records, you name it. "First, though, we need some cold, hard evidence of his infidelity," Clara stated. "Emails alone won't cut it. We need video, audio, anything to paint him as the slimeball he truly is." I smirked, a feral feeling rising inside me. Leave that part to me. Clara arched an eyebrow. You already have something in mind, don't you? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. Let's just say Derek has always been a braggart who loves the spotlight. Getting him to openly confess his sins won't be too difficult if we dangle the right carrot. A slow smile spread across Clara's face as she grasped my plan. She reached across the table and gave my hand a firm squeeze. Girl, you've got a wicked mind. I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship, one that's going to make your lying snake of a husband wish he never slithered into our lives. We sealed our pact with a round of celebratory mimosas, the bubbles melting away my anguish and replacing it with fiery determination. Derek wanted to see the vindictive side of a woman scorned. He was about to get his wish. Clara and I wasted no time putting our plan into motion. Within a couple days, she had pulled some strings and gathered a mountain of intel on Derek's misdeeds. Financial statements, phone records, even photos of him getting cozy with his mistress. This should be more than enough to bury that dirtbag, Clara said, sifting through the papers laid out on her coffee table. But there's one more thing you should know. She handed me a printed photo, one that made my blood run cold. It was Derek and the red-headed woman from the explicit emails, looking very much like an item. But what turned my stomach into knots was the unmistakable baby bump protruding from her abdomen. Lila isn't just his mistress, Clara said grimly. Turns out she's pregnant with his child, too, and from what I could gather, they were planning to get married once Derek finalized his divorce, leaving you with nothing. White-hot anger lanced through me as I stared at the damning photo. That backstabbing snake wasn't just cheating. He had completely checked out of our marriage, ready to move on to the next family without a second thought. I'll kill him, I growled under my breath. Clara put a calming hand on my shoulder. Hey, as satisfying as that sounds, we can't lose our heads here. We need to play this smart. She was right, as much as I hated to admit it. If I wanted true vengeance, I had to keep my cool. You're right, I said through gritted teeth. Derek's the one who will regret ever crossing me. Once we expose his lies to everyone, he won't be able to show his face in this town again. Clara gave me a conspiratorial grin. That's the spirit. Let's go over the final details of your plan one more time. Over the next few days, I could barely look at Derek without seeing red. Just existing under the same roof, watching him carry on like nothing was wrong, made me physically ill. He had to know something was up by how distant I became, but the idiot never pressed me on it. Too busy daydreaming about his new life with his pregnant mistress, I suppose. The only thing stopping me from wringing his lying neck was the thought of sweet, sweet revenge. Once his web of deceit unraveled in front of everyone, he would be the one cowering in fear and shame. Finally, the big day arrived, an upscale party hosted by Derek's firm to celebrate a major deal. Of course, he had invited all his smarmy colleagues and their social circle. Perfect for maximizing his humiliation. You sure you want to go through with this? Clara asked as we got ready. There's no going back after tonight. I fixed my determined gaze on her through the mirror. Derek made his choice when he decided to betray me. Now it's time for him to face the consequences. She gave a satisfied nod. Damn right, let's go get that cheating deadbeat. As the town car pulled up to the venue, I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Derek had no clue what was coming for him, and by the end of this night, he would know the true depths of my fury. With the revelation that Derek's mistress was pregnant, my quest for vengeance took on a new level of urgency. I knew I had to move quickly before he finalized his exit plan. Clara had laid out blueprints for dismantling Derek's life, disrupting his cash flow, turning his business associates against him, you name it. But to pull it off, we needed bulletproof evidence of his illicit dealings and shady finances. That's when I got the idea to do some digging of my own into his computer and financial records. Clara had shown me a few tricks for bypassing passwords and security systems. If Derek thought he could just lock me out, he was sadly mistaken. One night, when he was working late at the office, I fired up his laptop and started poking around his emails and bank statements. What I uncovered turned my stomach. Evidence of money laundering, offshore accounts, even proof he had been embezzling funds from my family's estate to fuel his lavish lifestyle. The person I had once trusted with everything wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal of the worst kind. And he had been using me as his biggest dupe this entire time. When Derek came strolling through the door at midnight, I was waiting for him with a stack of incriminating documents in hand. The smug grin melted off his face the second he saw the evidence. "You've been a very busy man behind my back, haven't you, Derek?" I said acidly. "Offshore accounts, shady dealings, even siphoning money out of my family's assets, though I suppose you thought I was too stupid to ever catch on." Derek's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water as he floundered for an explanation. Finally, he seemed to regain his bravado, straightening his shoulders arrogantly. "So what if I was skimming a little off the top?" he sneered. "I deserved that money way more than your stupid family. And besides, what are you going to do about it? We both know you're too spineless to actually do anything." White-hot anger flashed through me at his taunting words. Before I could stop myself, I slapped him hard across the face. Derek recoiled, more from shock than pain, and glared at me with pure venom. "You're going to regret that, you crazy bye." But I didn't let him finish that insult. Grabbing him by the collar, I shoved the documents right in his face. "Shut your lying mouth and listen very closely," I hissed in a low, dangerous voice. "I have evidence of all your misdeeds right here. Your embezzlement, the money laundering, every dirty deal you tried to hide. And that's not even mentioning your infidelity with that pregnant whore." Derek's eyes went wide, suddenly realizing I had him cornered. He started to speak, but I cut him off. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to release all financial claims to my family's assets, every single penny. And you'll be smart to cut ties with little Miss Lila, too, unless you want her implicated in this mess." I paused to let the weight of my words sink in before delivering the final blow. "Because if you don't follow my directions to the letter, I'll make sure you lose more than just money. I'll destroy your entire reputation, your career, your life. Do I make myself clear?" Derek could only nod numbly, thoroughly cowed by the blazing look in my eyes. With the evidence piled up and the threat issued, the power had completely shifted to my side of the court. After being his obedient little wife for so long, it felt damn good to be the one calling the shots for once. Derek had underestimated me in the worst way, and he was going to pay dearly for it. With the incriminating evidence piled up against Derek, I finally had the leverage I needed to really make him squirm. But more than money or assets, I craved something even more valuable: his total and utter humiliation. That's when the idea struck me to set the perfect trap. Clara and I spent hours scheming up an elaborate ruse that would lure Derek into publicly revealing his misdeeds and sordid affair in front of his peers. If he thought his cheating and criminal acts could stay hidden behind closed doors, he was sorely mistaken. I started planting little seeds over the following days, mentioning a potential big business deal I had in the works with an anonymous investor group. Derek, ever the money-hungry shark, quickly took the bait. "Well, don't hold out on me," he pressed during one of our terse family dinners. "What's this deal you've been hinting at?" I shrugged nonchalantly. "Just some former college friends looking to diversify their investments. They're interested in Hartfield's commercial real estate sector." His eyes lit up with dollar signs at the prospect of new money to swindle. "Does this investor group have deep pockets? If it's a solid deal, I could put you directly in touch with my people." "I'll let you know if it gets to that stage," I replied coolly. "For now, they've requested total discretion while they discuss options. Hook, line, and sinker." Derek nodded, his mind already spinning with visions of lining his pockets through my fictional deal. Little did he know, the trap was already set. In the following weeks, Clara recruited a crew of actors she used for undercover sting operations. They would pose as the mysterious investor group, drawing Derek out into the open under the premise of a high-stakes real estate deal. The pieces finally came together at the swanky rooftop venue Clara had booked. I arrived first to surveil, watching as Derek sauntered in with his usual arrogance. His face broke into a greedy smile when the investors arrived, a group of well-dressed individuals ready to lap up whatever lies he fed them. "Mr. Kingsley, I presume?" one of the actors said, extending his hand. "We've heard such excellent things about your development group's work." "The pleasure is all mine," Derek replied with an oily grin. I have to admit, I was intrigued when Marion brought your group's interest to my attention. What sort of properties were you looking at in our fair city? And just like that, the chess pieces were in motion. Over the next couple hours, Derek spun an increasingly embellished web of lies and empty promises, throwing out figures and projections that made my head spin. All the while, Clara had her crew surreptitiously recording video and audio footage of every word out of his deceitful mouth. Finally, it was time to bring the whole ruse crashing down. So, to summarize, one of the actors said, "You have full authority to execute all legal actions and financial dealings surrounding these properties?" Derek's smile was almost manic as he rapidly agreed. "Absolutely. I own the majority shares of these assets, as well as full operational control of the capital funds. Just get your people to start routing the money to the offshore accounts I provided, and we'll get these deals moving full steam ahead." That was Clara's cue. She entered with a flourish, slow clapping loud enough to make Derek spin around in surprise. "Well, well, well," she drawled. "I must say that was one hell of a performance, though I'm curious what Marion's family would say about you embezzling from their accounts to fund your schemes." The arrogant smirk fell from Derek's face like a lead weight as he realized he had been played. I stepped out from the shadows, holding up both hands innocently. "What can I say, dear husband? You always did love chasing the almighty dollar. I just thought I'd give you a more public stage to showboat your greed and lack of morals." Derek's jaw clenched as rage crept into his eyes. But there was nothing he could do to deny the truth now that we had it all on tape. Turning to address the actors, I couldn't keep the satisfied smirk off my face. "I do hope this little performance has helped illustrate why I no longer wish to be associated with Mr. Kingsley in any professional capacity. He's about to become, how do I put this delicately? Ah, yes, radioactive." The actors remained stone-faced, but I could see the gears turning as they slowly stood and exited in silence, leaving Derek to stew in his failure. As his world crumbled, I savored the sight of him finally receiving his comeuppance. This was just the beginning. By the time I was through with him, Derek would lose everything, his money, his reputation, all of it. And I was going to smile every single second while watching him reap what he deserved. After months of carefully laying the groundwork, everything was finally in place to deliver the killing blow to Derek's lies and deception. The grand exposé would take place at Hartfield's annual Elite Society Gala, the perfect stage to tear down my cheating husband's sordid facade once and for all. As Clara and I got ready that evening, a calm determination had settled over me. No more anger, no more sadness, just an unwavering sense of purpose. "You're sure you want to go through with this tonight?" Clara asked, eyeing me carefully. "There's no going back once you drop this nuclear bomb." I fixed my gaze on her, allowing the barest hint of a smile. "Derek stopped worrying about going too far a long time ago. Tonight, I'm simply evening the playing field." Clara gave a solemn nod of understanding. She knew there was no talking me out of this, not after the depths of Derek's betrayal. We arrived fashionably late to the gala, stepping out of the sleek town car to a flurry of camera flashes from the paparazzi. I could immediately spot Derek across the crowded ballroom, laughing it up with his sycophantic colleagues, so blissfully ignorant of what was coming. As the night grew later and the party kicked into high gear, I signaled Clara to make her move. She smoothly crossed the dance floor and tapped Derek on the shoulder. "Mr. Kingsley, could I have a word? There's something you need to see." The bravado instantly dissolved from Derek's face as Clara handed him an unmarked envelope. I watched him tear it open, his hands shaking as he rifled through the photos and documents inside, cold, hard proof of his countless affairs and shady financial dealings. Our eyes met from across the crowded ballroom. A range of emotions flickered over his face: shock, fear, rage. But he seemed to settle on defiance, crumpling the evidence into a ball and tossing it aside as he stalked over to me. "What kind of sick game is this, Marion?" he snarled under his breath, trying and failing to maintain his composure. "If you're looking for some last-ditch attempt at blackmail, forget it. I'm not falling for your—" "Blackmail?" I interrupted with a mocking laugh. "Oh, Derek, you arrogant fool. If I simply wanted to blackmail you, I would have done it quietly. With all that dirty money you've been siphoning away. His eyes went wide with sudden panic as I continued. No, this is so much more satisfying than blackmail, I stated, raising my voice to project across the silent ballroom. You see, I've grown rather tired of being the obedient little wife while you used me as a pawn in your games. So tonight I thought it was time we let everyone see the truth behind the lies. On cue, Clara switched on the audio-video feed, projecting a damning slideshow of evidence across the massive ballroom screens. Photos of Derek and Lila, financial ledgers of his embezzlement, you name it. Gasps and shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd as they took in the extent of Derek's treachery. I watched on impassively as his whole world crumbled around him. You crazy bye, Derek started, but I cut him off with a wave of my hand. I believe I've heard quite enough from you, dear husband, I said coldly. The evidence speaks for itself. Bank fraud, marital infidelity, criminal misuse of funds. You've been quite the busy little worker bee, haven't you? Derek's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water as the weight of his exposed misdeeds sank in. I leaned in close, making sure only he could hear my next words. This is what betrayal truly looks like, Derek. A public reckoning for all to see the depths of your depravity. I hope it was worth it to you. And with that parting shot, I turned on my heel and marched out of the ballroom, Clara falling into step beside me. We didn't need to look back to witness Derek's ultimate downfall. The sickening crash of shattered crystal and screams of outrage from the guests said it all. My quest for vengeance had been achieved. Derek's life now lay in ruins, the just punishment for his duplicity and arrogance. As for me, this was just the first step towards a new beginning, one free from deception and toxic entanglement. The shackles of my cursed marriage had finally been severed. The only question that remained, what would I do with this new lease on life? In the days following Derek's explosive downfall at the gala, the shockwaves reverberated through every corner of Hartfield's elite social circles. My cheating snake of a husband went from being a respected businessman to an utter pariah, all in one fell swoop. As expected, the legal ramifications came swiftly. Derek's assets were frozen as investigations opened into his money laundering and fraud schemes. His mistress Lila didn't escape unscathed either. Turns out she was complicit in funneling funds to his offshore accounts. As for me, I felt liberated, like a great weight had been lifted after carrying the burden of Derek's lies for so long. Clara had helped me secure a top-notch legal team to ensure every last penny of my family's estate was accounted for and transferred solely into my name. You really hit the jackpot, getting out from under that scumbag, Clara said one afternoon as we grabbed lunch. Though I can't say I'm surprised he tried to wriggle out of taking responsibility at first. I rolled my eyes, already knowing what she referred to. A few days after the gala, I received a frantic call from Derek's attorney claiming he wanted to make things right. Yeah, with a hefty settlement, no doubt. Mr. Kingsley is prepared to offer you a significant sum in exchange for your silence on this unpleasantness, the Weasley lawyer had stated. Enough to ensure you live more than comfortably for the rest of your days. Let me stop you right there, I interjected coolly. If Derek thinks I can simply be bought off after his disgusting betrayal, he's dumber than I thought. My silence isn't for sale. Now, Mrs. Kingsley, I must insist you at least hear the terms before. It's Ms. Davies, I corrected sharply, and any terms are null and void. I'm not interested in whatever hush-money bribe you were instructed to deliver. There was a long pause on the other end of the line before the lawyer found his voice again. You realize you're likely destroying any chance Mr. Kingsley has at salvaging his reputation or career, yes? All over a slight marital indiscretion? I couldn't stop the biting laugh that erupted from my chest. A slight indiscretion? Your client committed fraud, embezzlement, and knowingly conned me out of my family's legacy, all while carrying on an affair and impregnating his mistress. So allow me to be abundantly clear. I paused to ensure he was listening intently before delivering the killing blow. Derek can take his paltry settlement offer and shove it straight up his lying, cheating ass. I'm not settling for anything less than his total and complete ruin. If he thought I would go easy on him, he clearly never knew me at all. And with that parting remark, I hung up on the sputtering fool. Over the following months, Derek's world crumbled piece by piece as more charges were filed. His business... His partners dropped him. The Hartfield elite ostracized him at every turn. Meanwhile, I reclaimed control of my family's assets and estranged myself from the soiled Kingsley name. The fresh start I had dreamed of was finally at hand. "So what's next on your agenda now that the dust has settled?" Clara asked, bringing me back to the present. "Travel the world? Remodel the mansion? Maybe meet some eligible bachelors to make Derek fume with jealousy?" I laughed at her suggestive eyebrow wiggle before shaking my head. As tempting as parading around new arm candy sounds, I'm not looking to jump into another relationship anytime soon. I think I've had my fill of lying, cheating scumbags. Clara snorted into her mimosa but didn't disagree. We both knew Derek had put me through the emotional ringer. "Then what?" she pressed. "Don't tell me you plan to become a hermit now that you're officially rid of that waste of space." A small smile tugged at the corners of my mouth as my thoughts drifted back to Hartfield, the community I had loved and nurtured for so many years, only to have Derek jeopardize it all for his selfish gain. "No, I don't plan on being a hermit," I said slowly. "If anything, I want to double down on revitalizing the community and helping those in need. Use the assets and status I fought so hard for to actually make a positive difference." Clara's eyes widened in understanding before a proud grin spread across her face. "You're going to be one hell of a philanthropist, you know that?" She raised her glass in a mock toast. "To Marion Davies, Hartfield's newest humanitarian and all-around badass." I laughed and clinked my glass against hers, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and determination. Derek may have awoken the vindictive fury inside me, but in the end, he had also revealed my true power, the power to shape my own destiny and leave a lasting impact on the world around me, all on my own terms. And I had no intentions of squandering that gift. The months following my very public split from Derek were a whirlwind. As the judicial system methodically dismantled his illegally obtained assets, I focused my energy on the next chapter, righting the wrongs he inflicted on Hartfield. My first order of business was restoring all the community programs and charities Derek had drained funds from to fuel his lavish lifestyle. It felt incredibly cathartic using his ill-gotten gains to give back. Next, I personally allocated a significant sum to renovate the public parks, recreation centers, and after-school facilities around town. The look of joy on kids' faces as I unveiled the revamped basketball courts and playgrounds filled my heart in a way Derek's materialistic pursuits never could. Who would have thought getting brutally betrayed would put you on the path to humanitarian sainthood? Clara teased as we toured one of the new computer labs I had funded. I shrugged, unable to keep the smile from my face as I watched the students getting tutored on the state-of-the-art equipment. Maybe I needed a wake-up call to stop taking this community for granted, I mused. All those years I was so wrapped up in Derek's world, thinking money and status was the ultimate prize. But giving back, it's way more gratifying than any designer handbag. Clara laughed and slung an arm around my shoulders as we headed back to the parking lot. Well, as entertaining as it would be to see you rock the rich divorcee look with flashy spoils, I've got to admit, this charitable path suits you way better. My gaze drifted towards the elementary school in the distance, and I felt a contented warmth blossom in my chest. For too long, I had been trapped in a hollow, materialistic bubble. Thanks to Derek's betrayal, I had broken free and rediscovered my purpose. As if reading my mind, Clara lightly nudged my arm. So, feel like celebrating another win for the hometown hero tonight? I know this great little bistro downtown that has the most incredible chocolate lava cake. I opened my mouth to reply. reply, but the words caught in my throat as my gaze landed on a tall, vaguely familiar figure, leaning against a sleek black sedan across the street. Our eyes met, and I felt an unexpected jolt low in my abdomen as the corners of his mouth quirked up in a heart-stoppingly charming smile. "You know, I think I'm going to take a rain check on that," I said distractedly, unable to tear my eyes away from the striking man. Clara followed my line of sight and let out a low whistle. Well, who is Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome over there? Please tell me he's a part of this triumphant reformed bachelorette story." I shot her a quelling look, but my face was rapidly flushing. "Down, girl. That's actually Richard Evans, the new director they just hired over at the youth center." "Oh ho," Clara crowed. "The one you were telling me, put in that state-of-the-art rock climbing wall for the kids?" "Among other improvements, yeah," I replied, risking another glance over at the unfairly attractive Richard. This time he winked slowly, and I felt like the sidewalk had been pulled out from underneath me. Sensing my flustered state, Clara mercifully stifled her giggles. "Well, why don't we get out of here and let you collect yourself before reuniting you with your dashing philanthropic colleague? Though who knows, maybe a chance encounter could be the start of a new chapter?" Her voice was light and teasing, but her words struck an unexpected chord within me. Since healing from Derek's deception, I had closed myself off to relationships or even casual dalliances. Focusing all my energy into making positive changes around Hartfield seemed safer than opening myself up to more potential heartbreak. But as I met Richard's warm, inviting gaze once more, something shifted inside me. Derek's callous betrayal still stung, but I was starting to realize it wasn't a reason to shut out all future happiness. I had prevailed over his cruelty and reclaimed my power. Maybe it was finally time to embrace the possibility of what came next, including a dashing new direction, if the fates allowed. With a sly smile, I turned to Clara. "You know what? Let's go say hi." As we strolled over to the unfairly handsome stranger, the unpleasant ghosts of Derek and his sordid deeds fell further into the rearview mirror. This new chapter shone bright with limitless potential, and I had no intention of allowing past traumas to dim its light. It was time to keep pushing forward, rising like a phoenix from the ashes of betrayal. The greatest vengeance was not destroying Derek, but rebirthing myself anew. And if a dashing philanthropic colleague happened to join me for this exciting new journey, well, I was finally ready to embrace whatever possibilities awaited.